Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but first, we want to give a shout out to our partners, the global community of women in high school sports, We Coach, the Florida Coaches Coalition, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You've heard me mention many times, these are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. And now, don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes. We'll give our sponsors their shout out. These are all great companies that I used as a coach or as an AD. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform for us. They're also your one-stop platform for scheduling, student-athlete eligibility, clearance, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just fantastic, and you'll love it too. To find out how to get started with Home Campus, here's what you have to do. Go to homecampus.com. That's it. Go to homecampus.com. We also want to say thank you to Gipper, which is the official social media graphic solution for the Educational AD Podcast. Go to Gipper.com, mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount, and start creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. It's so easy, even I can do it. Celebrate your athletes, promote your teams, join the over 3,000 athletic programs, both high school and college, that are using Gipper. There's a lot of platforms out there. Gipper's the best, hands down. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that allowed them to coach our kids up to their highest level. Go to Huddle.com. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or just tell more compelling stories and showcase your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com for more. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, digital ticketing that offers more. Whether it's more support, more security, more customization, Hometown is here to make the best solution for you. It's also the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. There's Snap Raise, their fundraising platform. Stop right there. It's the best fundraiser, hands down. But there's also Snap Store, Snap Manage, Snap Connect, and a whole lot more. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo, and see their tables and their boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table, and you'll feel the same way. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to show you how they can set up a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. ADs already hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic Surveys connects you with the 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking to that frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Schedule that custom survey today. athleticsurveys.com. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to South Carolina today and we're going to be visiting with Cody Slaughter. Cody is not just a certified master athletic administrator, he's also the head football coach and the AD at South Florence High School, coming off a state championship season and also something called Athletic Director of the Year. So excited to hear about it. Cody Slaughter, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, we're excited to hear how things are going for you at South Florence, but we always like to start out and give our listeners a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own college years, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Cody Slaughter origin story?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Augusta, Georgia. Was there for just a few years, and my parents divorced. We moved to a very small town in South Carolina, Bamberg, South Carolina, which is kind of where I grew up from first grade on through my senior year in high school. I was a three-sport athlete: football, wrestling, and soccer. Had a lot of fun there. Kind of got interested in sports medicine when I was a junior, senior in high school, and our athletic trainer at the time had some connections at Clemson University. So that's where I ended up doing my undergrad. They do not have a sports medicine program, so I found my way into secondary education. That was my degree as science teacher. But I did do the sports medicine thing while I was there. I was a student trainer for the Clemson football program for 5 years. I got some scholarship and some school paid for that way. So it was a lot of fun, and really got to experience college athletics from a different perspective. I learned a lot about the inner workings of an athletic department, and much more than being just a student athlete. We got to see the day-to-day operations, and got to talk to some of those people who are responsible for managing logistics and stuff like that throughout the season for mostly college football, but we worked with some other programs as well. So I've been involved with athletics, from the time I was doing the youth thing all the way up through college, and as a student trainer for the Clemson football program. And I had some roommates and things like that were student managers. They worked in the equipment room, so I got to experience that side of things as well. So a lot of those experiences have obviously been valuable for me in my career now. But it's been a ride, the growing up thing, and starting in a really, really small town, and moving up to a pretty large college campus was a really big learning experience, and a kind of a culture shock for a little small town country boy from Bamberg, South Carolina.
But yeah, I want you to follow up a little bit, that experience that you got in a program like Clemson. Those are some lessons that I don't think every coach or every AD has a chance to really appreciate the importance of, whether it's from, the student trainer, or as you mentioned, the managers, and just all the things that they do, that you don't have that staff of 8 managers at your high school. Well, maybe you do. And the coach ends up doing a lot of that. So that had to just really be, at the time, you probably didn't realize it, but now looking back, what were some things that really stick out for you from that college experience that, you probably have to do multiple times during the week at South Florence? Anything come to mind?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. Obviously, from the equipment manager perspective, I help manage our inventory on all of our sports. I do all of the ordering and budgeting for equipment and uniforms, and kind of got a really good understanding when I was at Clemson, the organization part of being an equipment manager, and how to keep up with inventory, and how to track what's going out and what's coming back in, and making sure that you have an accurate kind of idea of what you're going to need to order at the end of each school year for the next year. I think those are probably the biggest takeaways I got from being around that equipment manager program. And then obviously from the sports medicine side of it, just the importance of our athletic trainers and how valuable they are to not only, the safety of our student athletes, but getting them back on the field of play. I think is something a lot of times, people think about sports medicine and athletic trainers, and they think they're there for emergencies. and they forget about the rehabilitation and the injury prevention part of what their job is. And they're just so valuable to what we do here at South Florence and our athletic programs. And we kind of tie them in all the time on discussions of how do we make the situation better for our student athletes? How do we help them develop better and stay healthy while they're doing it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That coach, trainer, strength and conditioning coach, all working together. And again, I look back at my own undergrad work. I went to a very small NAIA school. When football was over, a lot of us, just kind of hung out in the gym and the weight room, and for basketball games and things like that. You ended up seeing some of that, certainly not to the degree that you did, as an undergrad major, but yeah, great experience, just tremendous. Really appreciate you sharing that. For listeners, our guest today is Cody Slaughter. He's a certified master athletic administrator, state championship football coach, athletic director of the year at South Florence High School, and that's in South Carolina. We're going to take a quick break, but we're coming back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform for the podcast. It's also your one-stop platform for things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, coaches clearance, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just fantastic. And you'll love it too. To find out more about what Home Campus can do for you and your program, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're talking with Cody Slaughter, certified master athletic administrator and the director of athletics for South Florence High School. Cody, we all have a journey in our career. Mine, as far as being a coach in AD, has ended a couple of years ago when I retired. You're still hip deep in yours. Talk a little bit about those early teaching and coaching jobs that led you to this position now at South Florence.
Yeah, so straight out of college, I went to a very, very football dominant school. I was at Gaffney High School for 1 year, but I spending all that time with Clemson, I never took time to pay much attention to the X's and O's of football, even though I played it in high school. And they were so far advanced for what I knew. But my true passion was in wrestling. I was a wrestling coach. It's kind of what my coaching career started out as. I was an assistant there, and after 1 year, I got a head coaching position back home at my alma mater. And I was there for 4 years, and I had no aspirations of getting away from coaching, anytime soon. But I got into an administration program, educational administration master's degree program, just because everybody tells you when you're getting into this career, you need to get that master's degree early. So I started that when I was in my second or third year of teaching, I believe, just to kind of go ahead and get it out of the way, and really kind of enjoyed what I was learning. But coached 4 years at Bamberg, and we were fortunate. We won 2 state championships in wrestling while I was there. We had several kids win individual state championships. I kind of found my niche in the wrestling coaching world, and I have a lot of really good friends that are still in that world now. More and more of them, though, are starting to become athletic directors lately. It's been kind of interesting. Went on from there. I went to Sumter High School, which is another big football program school. But their athletic programs are kind of good across the board. And I was looking for a new challenge. I really just, you get to that pinnacle, that kind of that mountaintop, and you think you can win it anywhere. So I decided I was going to go to one of the biggest schools in our state from one of the smallest and take over their wrestling program. And it was a great experience. Kind of took that program, and in my mind, I think I turned it around a little bit. They were kind of down when I got there, and I think we made it to the third or fourth round of the playoffs my final year there. And then I got really interested in being an administrator. First as an assistant principal, But then I did my first interview as an athletic director and just fell in love with it. Just the scenarios and the questions and the situations that they asked me during that interview. So that's kind of how I got into this thing. After that interview, which I did not get a call back for that one actually. But after that interview, I contacted a former wrestling coach friend of mine that was an athletic director and said, "Hey man, I want to do this thing. I want to get into this, this field. What is your advice?" And he said, "You need to get your CAA, your Certified Athletic Administrator certification through the NIAAA." So I just kind of started there. I started taking some classes through the NIAAA, and that's kind of propelled me to where I am now. Just taking those courses kind of over time and learning more about this specific career and what all you're tasked with as an athletic administrator.
Yeah, and again, for our listeners, obviously, you've done a great job. I did some internet research, and South Florence is certainly reaping the benefits of your administrative excellence with some state championships, and you yourself, being selected as the athletic director of the year. Looking back to some of those earlier jobs, kind of like I asked you with the athletic training and the student management, what were some lessons from some of those earlier jobs that you brought with you to South Florence that you've implemented?
So I think with the coaching part of it, I think it's just learning how to develop relationships with people. I think is probably the biggest thing that I learned, especially developing relationships with your student athletes. I think, we get to a point, and when you become an athletic director, you don't have your hands on the kids like you used to when you were a coach, but you still have to know how to deal with them, how to talk to them, and kind of how to help develop them from afar. So I think that was probably the biggest lesson I learned that I can still apply to what I do now. But always there's the planning and the logistics of running a program. You don't, on a small scale as a coach, you kind of get to just focus on the planning of your program, and then you just, as an AD, you're applying that to kind of everybody and trying to get them all going in the same direction with the same goals that you had or had even as a coach before. So I think that just kind of the biggest thing is the relationships, and then maybe second there would be the planning and the managing the people that work for you and work under you and leading them in the direction that you feel like everybody should be going.
Oh, absolutely. Building those relationships. It's the old cliche. I think I just said this on another interview. Whether it's kids or coaches that you're working with, it really applies. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And absolutely building those relationships. Good stuff. We're going to take another quick break. For our listeners, our guest is Cody Slaughter. He's a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at South Florence High School in South Carolina. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Gipper for their support of the podcast. Gipper is the official social media graphics solution for the Educational AD Podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to create world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. It's so easy, even I can do it. Celebrate your athletes, promote your teams. Gipper's used by over 3,000 athletic programs, both high school and college, and you should be using it too. There's a lot of platforms out there. Gipper is hands down the best. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. When I was a football coach, I used Huddle for years, and it was just fantastic. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that allowed them to coach their kids at the highest level. Go to Huddle.com. We believe in sports, and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Cody, we talked about a journey, and we all take that journey with our state association and with the NIAAA. So we've got a lot of young ADs that listen to the podcast. Share with them how that journey got started. How'd you first hear about your state association? How'd you get involved with NIAAA? And maybe even tell us a little bit about your CMAA project.
Sure. So I was very fortunate in my first post as an AD at Bluffton High School in Bluffton, South Carolina, to have some colleagues around me that were very knowledgeable about the NIAAA and the LTC courses. One of our district ADs down there, one of the other schools, is actually our LTC coordinator here in South Carolina. I'd already started doing some of the CAA courses, just the foundational courses that NIAAA offers. And he was like, you just need to, keep going. Don't stop taking those things. The more you learn, the better off you're going to be in this career. So I got CAA certified, I believe, in 2017 when I was just an assistant athletic director. And the year after that, I was promoted to the athletic director position. So I used a lot of that knowledge that I gained in those foundational courses to, I guess, woo my principal at the time with my knowledge of athletic administration. And I made her believe that I was ready to go and that I knew everything about this career. And it came to find out I really didn't know a whole lot until I got in there and just kind of learned as I went. But the LTC courses, man, they have been so great. I think I'm up to, I don't know, 25 or 26 of them now. Finished my CMAA back in 2022, so last year, in the spring of last year, and it was an extensive journey from CAA, just because I didn't feel like I was ready to take that step of doing a project where I was kind of sharing something that I was doing in my day-to-day athletic department. So I kind of held back on it and really wanted to wait until I felt like I had something that was going to be beneficial to other people, that maybe it's not something that is presented very often. So I chose to talk about a coaches leadership cohort that I kind of do within my building. And the way that works is they come in and all of my coaches, I kind of change it every year to give every coach a chance to be on it. And it's a group of head coaches that kind of act as my buffer, not really a buffer. I guess they're my, they're an appeals council is what they are. So when we have kids that stray during the school day, or they get suspended or whatever, if they feel that their suspension's too harsh, they can kind of appeal to my coaches council. And the coaches council will kind of talk about it and come back and say, hey man, maybe you were too hard on this kid. Maybe 3 games is a little much. Maybe we need to knock it back to 1 game and some after school community service around the campus or whatever. So that's one function. The other function is that they help me develop, and not really enforce, but they help me develop policies in quotation marks, because they're not board approved, but policies within our athletic department that we use as our guidelines, things that we expect our coaches to be doing on a daily basis. And I think that anytime you're developing guidelines or policies, things like that, the more people that you have given input is always better. It gives them some ownership of what you're doing as an athletic department, and it really helps when you can say, hey guys, this is what me and your peers discussed, and this is what we think is best for our athletic department. Ultimately, I'm the one that has to enforce it, but it does give some collaboration and some kind of peer group input into what's going on.
Yeah, no, the cohort has become so popular. I would say in the last few years, the NIAAA has their own, leadership cohort, and cohorts and other subjects, but just a great way to give coaches in your school and your building those leadership opportunities. And I love that the application that you've used as far as the appeals component. Great way to get kids in. Sometimes not on the best end, but get them involved in, how decisions are made, why decisions are made. And then hopefully part of that is, the restoration, getting them back on the right track, keeping them in the program. Very cool stuff. Cody, we'll do this again at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, add you to their network, or just pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
I'm a big texter. My phone stays wide open all day long. Email's always good. Twitter, I try to respond to everybody. Also, there's the Facebook group on Facebook. Excuse me, the athletic directors Facebook group. I try to respond to as many questions in there as I can, try to help out. And always willing to share. So any way that they can get a hold of me is, I'm going to try to get back to them.
Okay. And again, for listeners, Cody's information is on the NIAAA membership portal. So check it out. Cody Slaughter, Certified Master Athletic Administrator, South Florence High School, South Carolina. We're going to take another break, but we'll be back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. Again, it's a great way to showcase your school's history, your proudest moments, and your best and brightest. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Look at the great products. When you're ready to buy, mention the podcast. They'll give you a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, digital ticketing that offers more. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're not only going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, not just for athletic events, but things like school plays, concerts, dances, even graduation. But here's the best part. Every school is assigned a dedicated client success manager to provide hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Do I need to say anything else? Go to hometownticketing.com to find out all the ways Hometown can help you. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Cody, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot again. What are some things that you do at South Florence? Again, state championship teams, you've been recognized as the athletic director of the year. What are some best practices that you think separate South Florence from maybe other programs that are aspiring to get to your level?
I feel like our focus here on developing from the individual level has kind of been what has kind of put us on an upwards trajectory. And I'm not just talking about the student athletes, I'm talking about our coaches as well. We spend a lot of time talking about what we can do to improve the experience for our coaches, and how we can help them kind of develop as coaches. We try to send them to camps and clinics, and we talk a lot about what's going on in their sport that is new and exciting, and how can we make that possible for them. So I think that just thinking from a individual development perspective, I think has really changed what's going on around here. And that trickles down to your kids. When your coaches see that you're investing in their development and you're investing in what's best for them, they kind of take on that same attitude for their kids. And how can we, or what do we need to do that is going to set us apart from a development level for these kids? Our football coaches and our basketball coaches and all of our coaches have kind of stepped back from what they're comfortable with, and put themselves in a situation where maybe they're a little bit more uncomfortable with how they coach and how they develop their kids. And I think that has really kind of pushed it along a little bit. Another thing that we kind of focus on here is, and I know it sounds kind of cliche, is the family culture, the family atmosphere. We were actually at a Rotary meeting today, and our football coach spent an extensive amount of time talking about investing in the kids and creating a family atmosphere for his program. And a lot of our coaches now will actually have their students over to their homes for dinner, and they'll sit down with them around their table and kind of show them what that functioning household looks like. Because some of our kids may not see that, and it's just something that they need to experience so they know what that's like. But our coaches are very, very caring of our student athletes, and that all goes way back to the beginning when we first started talking about the relationships. So everything here is kind of focused on a personal level. And I think another thing that we do, or that I do, I guess specifically, is kind of advocate for the needs of our athletic department. We're very fortunate to have a very, very, very supportive superintendent and principal. And I think that you can't undervalue that support. That's something that a lot of people see what we do and they think that we're involved in every single step of it. But we have a very, very supportive administration above even me, and we have gone through so many facility upgrades and that kind of stuff that our kids see that and they understand what's been invested into them. And I think that it makes a difference in how they perform and how they're willing to work to get better for those performances. So I think you just advocate for what you need. And I think you have to, be comfortable going and talking to your principal and going and talking to your superintendent when there's a need, and not being timid about that, and knowing how to express those needs, and really just being able to explain why you need it. I think anytime you can kind of take things back to what's best for the kids when you have those conversations, I think people start to think that you know what you're talking about a little bit. You end up getting most of what you need and a lot of what you want. It's just about how you address it, and how you go about presenting it to the people that can make it happen.
Yeah, that administrative support, it's one of those things you don't think about maybe coming up the ladder, but as you know, it's vital. You could be the greatest, AD, and work with coaches and work with kids and parents, but if you don't have that support from whether it's your principal, your superintendent, that school board, it's going to be very, very challenging to make that program successful. Great point. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to find out some more wisdom from our guest today, Cody Slaughter. We're going to take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but please stay with us. We're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile for their support. Go to snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. If you're looking for a fundraising platform, stop right here. SnapRaise is hands down the best program out there. They even have an option where they will give you your money before you actually do your fundraiser. Nobody else does that. But you've got Snap Store, Snap Connect, Snap Manage, and a whole lot more. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products. Schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Tremendously versatile. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. You'll be impressed. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're visiting today with Cody Slaughter. He's the athletic director at South Florence High School. He's a certified master athletic administrator, also selected as South Carolina's athletic director of the year. Cody, one of the topics that we've used pretty much since the podcast started 3 years ago has to do with this idea of being socially aware. I know that's a big umbrella, but do you have any advice for athletic directors on how they can do a better job in this area for their communities?
Yeah. So being in touch with your community and kind of knowing what's going on. I think that the best way to do that for me at least is just through conversation at our events. You know, everybody sees what is put on social media and kind of what's in the news, and you see the big headlines and the big stories, even if it's just from like your local news sources and that kind of thing. But you don't really get the full all the details or the full scope of some of what goes on from the news. So I think I focus a lot on talking to people in our community when they're at games or when they're on campus for other events. People that I'm a conversationalist. I don't want to just kind of sit back and watch. So I'll just go up and start a conversation with somebody that maybe I don't know, but is obviously one of our supporters or one of our fans. And just starting that conversation always leads into kind of what's going on in the community that you maybe don't know about. We had some issues at one of our football games last year, and I found out more from talking to people in our community about what actually happened than I did from reviewing film or reviewing any kind of video footage from that event. But it was great to just know that people had confidence in the way that we handled it, and they had confidence in their safety while they're at our games. And we wouldn't have known that if we weren't talking to community members and people that were actually at the game. There were a lot of rumors that were kind of circulating and flying around, and we were able to find out from people and actual conversations that it really wasn't what was being rumored to have happened. So just being in touch and being social. Anytime you're out in town, I'm pretty visible in Florence because I think the only clothes I own have our logo on it. So if I'm ever out in town and I've got a shirt on, people will stop me and talk to me, or they'll want to ask questions about what's going on at the school. And again, that always just leads back to kind of the question, well, what's going on with you? What's up in your part of the world, or what's up in your life? And people will share. I mean, they really do. They're not. They don't hold back. They will tell you kind of anything that's on their mind, and they trust you to kind of have some discretion and some confidentiality about your conversation, and that's what you do. If people trust you to share stuff with you, you keep it to yourself, but you make a note of it, and you can kind of know what's going on out there in your part of the world. As far as if you're spreading out beyond our community, I mean, I think that the easiest way to know what's going on, although it's usually biased, is through social media. I follow a lot of journalists, especially the ones that cover sports in our area. And it's always a good source to kind of find out what's going on statewide in terms of athletics, but also some of the social things that are going on with different parts of the world, or maybe not the world, but different parts of our state. And kind of what other people are facing that we may not be. There's a lot going on right now in our state with charter schools and private schools is a big topic in our state right now, and we've got some really good journalists that cover it, pretty extensively, and I've learned so much from them, and it's kind of changed my opinion or my view on those schools and how they compete and things like that. So. Have an open mind and be willing to have conversations, and you can always know what's going on around you and in your state.
Yeah, you really can't understate or overstate the importance of that connection of communicating, with your parents. Parents want to be involved, and I think we miss the boat when we don't. And this word gets used a lot too, become intentional about helping them get involved at the right way. Because if you sit back, they're going to be involved, but maybe not in the way that you want them to. So absolutely great stuff. Cody, it's easy to see why you're been selected by your peers as the athletic director of the year for South Carolina. But we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you've already demonstrated your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this segment. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's go and take that final break. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Cody Slaughter is going to put in his new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the Toolbox segment. Athletic Surveys are a quick, easy, and an affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic Surveys connects you with the 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable resource when you're talking with a frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that will allow you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. That's athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We have been visiting with Cody Slaughter. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at South Florence High School in South Carolina. Cody, obviously, you know your way around the high school athletics, but right now I want you to send out a brand new AD on the very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in the toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in your new athletic director toolbox?
First and foremost, I think you got to have some resolve, and you have to, be kind of firm in your decision making, and not so much closed-minded about it. But I think you have, when you make a decision, you have to be confident that you made the right decision. So some resolve always helps. I think that would be first and foremost for me. The second thing I would say, my job is very task oriented, but a lot of it is managing facilities and maintaining facilities and that kind of stuff. I am a huge audiobook person. So I think that, anybody that can has to be very hands-on in maintaining their facilities or doing yard work, cutting grass, that kind of stuff. I listen to audiobooks nonstop, and I try to be very, again, intentional about which books I listen to. So it's always something that can help me be better at this career, this job, usually somewhere in the realm of leadership, or sometimes I listen to biographies of great leaders and that kind of thing. So just being able to kind of throw those headphones in and use that time when you're really working and getting your hands dirty, I think you're accomplishing 2 tasks at once. You're developing yourself with your knowledge, and then you're also getting your job done at the same time. So audiobooks, I think, are great for passing the time and preventing boredom when you're doing some of those things. And then the last one for me, I think, is just patience. Patience is absolutely required in this position. You're going to come across tasks, or you're going to come across issues where it feels like the world is just on top of you, and it's never going to work itself out. And then that patience and that resolve just kind of go together to help you get through those times, and know that once you get through this one, there's going to be another one too. And you always just kind of remind yourself that this too shall pass. That goes for the good and the bad, honestly. I mean, it's the good times pass and the bad times pass right along with it. So just those 3 things have helped me get kind of through some situations, and keep my job, but keep my sanity as well, and keep my family together, as because you don't want to be so stressed out when you go home that it starts tearing your family apart. So I think those are 3 things that I would suggest that you put in your toolbox as maybe a new athletic director. One, I guess, is technically physical, but the other 2 are just characteristics of, I think, really good athletic directors.
No, I love it. You probably saw me writing those down. The word that you used, resolve, we've had a lot of tool suggestions in that particular category where resolve is going to go, but I think you might be one of the first, if not the first, to mention it, using that word. And it's so true. Okay. Just thanks so much for saying that. And then the audio books. It's a great way to, I hate to say multitask, but it allows you to really hone in on those topics that, as you mentioned, are very important to any athletic director. Very cool stuff. Cody, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, add you to their network, or just pick your brain about how you do things at South Florence, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Best way is to shoot me an email. I kind of use that as my task list throughout the day. I kind of just look and see what's in there, and then as I go and as I've crossed something off, I file it away. So if you send my inbox, you're going to get a response, and it'll be within a day or two. But that's the best way to get a response if you need something from me. And I look forward to any helping anybody that needs any help with anything.
All right. Well, again, thanks so much for sharing with our listeners. And for our listeners, we recorded this the night before you're listening to it now. If you're listening to it on day one, Cody's got a great big football game coming up. I'll say tonight, as you're listening to this, defending state champs. All the best with that. And hopefully we'll see you down in Orlando for this year's national conference.
Be there.
For our listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks as always for listening. Come back next time for another great interview and more best practices on the Educational AD Podcast.